Hello, this is Juniper of Solar V Studio, and welcome to my back porch. Last week I was talking about carding, and in this whole process of the sweater that I want to create. And so I meant to, however long ago that was, oh, hello Mo, show you more about the carding process, but for me, the whole carding process is I do it better and I get injured less if I do it quietly and contemplatively. There we go. And right now this is that Syria alpaca hair from Marathon Spirit. And to avoid jamming the drum carder and bending the teeth on the carding cloth, I'm trying to separate it out and fluff it up a bit. But part of the reason why the carding process is not my favorite part is because it is, the progress is incredibly slow. It takes a long time just to do 50 grams with the combination that I've created. If you are just blending different rovings, then that's a different story. It's much faster. But while working with raw fibers, it's just very, very slow. And I've already made myself bleed once today by using this, and you can see the puncture mark. They're just little pieces of very stiff wire that can poke you. And these little razor blades in here are even worse. So that's another reason why it is necessary to do it in quiet contemplation. But what happens sometimes when I am in quiet contemplation is I will have undesirable thoughts. So usually the points in my life where I do a lot of spinning and carding, it's when my mind is more settled and still, and when I don't have a lot of emotions going on. If I have a lot of emotion going on, then it is incredibly difficult for me to sit with my thoughts and do something of this nature. So it really takes, but that's one of the beauties, because any yarn that I've spun well, any drawing that has been my favorite, it is in a time where my mind is fairly still, and it can be difficult to find that part of me sometimes, because I'm thinking about 20 other things that I could be doing right now. But having this quiet peace of mind, it actually it relaxes all the muscles of my body, because I'm here. And touching this very, very soft, very, very, I like this color. I know some people don't really like the color brown so much, but I really do enjoy the color brown. But just enjoying the fiber and thinking, wow, this actually grows out of a very interesting looking creature. With their, alpacas are of the camel family, and they have very long necks and those interesting faces, and they're very interesting creatures, who are quite unique in their temperaments. they will follow you if you're good to them. If not, they have a tendency to be incredibly stubborn, and they may even cop an attitude. But as long as you're nice and kind and loving to them, they will follow you to the end of the earth, if they trust you. So they're very interesting in that way. But this very soft, very wonderful fiber comes from them. And I believe that they originate from the Andes. I'm not sure if the Syri alpaca do, or it's at least in South America, where they were like the carrier of things. People didn't necessarily ride on them, but they carried things for humans. And I know that some of them, there's a great number of them who live in the Andes Mountains on, I believe it's the west coast of South America. But I've spun alpaca fibers a number of times, and it's just so smooth and slippery, and their curl pattern is bigger than the sheep. There's a little bit that doesn't, oh right, okay. But just sitting with this fiber, I mean, it's a long, drawn out process, but so are many of the things in life that are required to achieve the really big dreams. For example, if you decided to buy an abandoned fixer-upper, old, beautiful, let's just say Victorian house, like all of the old wooden detail trims, all of the like interior built-in cabinets, and like the old-fashioned parlor with the sliding doors and this and that. But it had been abandoned and there was a lot of damage, and I've been watching shows like that. There's a show like that on YouTube called Restoration Home, where they take old castles or old giant manors that have been run down and they're about ready to fall apart. And some of them were built in the Middle Ages. Some of them were built in the Renaissance, and some of them were built later than that. But it's interesting to watch the process of those houses, because the owners always run into unexpected occurrences where the plans are generally delayed. I don't think I've ever watched an episode of Restoration Home without it being taken at least an extra 6 months than initially anticipated. Wow, that's an interesting curl pattern. So I know this one's kind of takes a long time. But the big projects, the big, these people, oh, see, I got stuck, darn it. Come on. I put too much in at a time. Come on now. There we go. That's going to be, anyways, where is that? Right there. But at the end of the day, when these families have invested so much time and so much energy in keeping, as many of the original moldings and era specific building details, and a lot of these houses are registered with historical societies, so there's an incredible amount of regulations in the type of materials that are allowed to be used. They need to be historically correct for those renovations. But the families, when they end up, adding electricity and interior lighting and making this incredible historic building turning it into their home. They are so proud that they stuck it through. They're so proud that, even though it generally costs more than anticipated. And in a few episodes, their budget and their credit had been limited, or they've reached their limit. So they had to, it wasn't a fully completed project, but they were anticipating to complete it in the future as the finances became available. But in these really big projects, it's not going to be, oh yay, in one day I carded this entire basket, this giant basket. I mean, it's big. It's like an armload. This giant basket of roving is not going to be done in one day. I know for sure. I spent more than 24 hours on this project so far. Far more, actually. And I haven't even started the spinning or the knitting. So these big, huge projects that end up being completed gives, because I've done projects like not cool, I've done, I've knitted things from like raw fiber into something and then dyed it and blah 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 before, but not as big as a sweater. So this is a lot more fiber that I need, a lot more yardage. But when you do end up finishing a project that has taken you ages and ages and ages, you feel as if you can accomplish anything you set your mind to. But just the follow through, the steadfastness, the not giving up, the not quitting, the yes, I'm continuing and continuing and continuing, no matter what discouraging things happen, that you just carry forth and keep working, carry forth and keep working. And yes, there might be delays in the project. There might be times where it's not something that you can work on and focus on at the time. But you just continue and continue and continue. See, that little bit is not long enough. Sometimes the under hair of the fiber gets... See, this is roving that I purchased just to get enough to stretch the yardage and to add more wool into the mix. So it comes in strips already. So now that I have that done, now that I powered through that little portion, let me take a sip of tea. I am ready to take off the bat. All right. But even this part, so I have little victories intermittently, because once I get to take off, once I separated all of the rough Shetland and the alpaca fibers. All right. Then the rest of it goes much more quickly. But it is quite a good exercise for meditation. So I know this is not something that a lot of people are interested in doing. The spinning part is much more enjoyable, and there are a lot of fibers readily available to spin. You just walk into the store and pay generally be in between $1.50 and like cashmere is like probably $10 or $15 an ounce. So depending on what you're looking for. There is a wide variety of where to start, but nonetheless, this just goes along with one of my dreams that I had for myself in high school. In high school, I thought, wouldn't it be nice to have a flock of sheep and to create a cozy blanket for my bed from my flock of sheep? Well, that's a fine and great dream, but first you need a flock of sheep. Then you need to know what to do with their wool. Then you need to know how to, you need to know how to clip their wool. You need to know how to clean their wool. You need to know how to process their wool. You need to know how to spin their wool. And then you need to decide if you're going to knit, crochet, or weave their wool. So as part of my bigger dream, the dream that I had when I was probably 16, in an effort to complete that dream, I had to, well, I first started with a spindle, and then I was gifted a spinning wheel. That was handmade by my dear friend, Mr. Wally Van Eaton. Then I invested in the drum carder, and I've also invested in a picker, which is, looks, a picker looks like a torture chamber device, actually. Quite scary, but that may be another video, or maybe not, because it's not a pleasant looking tool. Oh, carding combs, that's also, I believe my carding combs were handmade by James Greenwood, but it's another way of basically doing this drum carding part, but for me, it's quite slow, and I do not have a solid enough table to clamp it onto. Well, maybe this one might work, actually. That's before I made this table. So one more pass through, and then we're on to the much funner part of taking it off. So just the steadfastness, the keep on keep on going, even though it seems like, oh my goodness, I'm never going to have this come out the way that I want to. Just gotta keep on going. Just like Dory said in Finding Nemo, keep on swimming. And Dory never let her thoughts get in her way because she had no memory. She was always just so quite right there in the moment. Jellyfish? What jellyfish? Type of thing. What do you mean I'm in incredible danger and I could potentially die? I mean, she had no idea. But it's kind of like the Fool card in tarot. Little joint likes to get filled up, so I'm going to smash this out. I know this video's getting quite long. And my mind has been a bit scattered because I'm multitasking, so I do completely apologize for that. But this is what is required of this project. The steadfastness, the clearing your mind, the keeping your eye on your prize, so that you have the motivation and the drive or you have the will to move forward and to continue until, oh, it always works better when I do it like this. To continue until your project is completed. And why I pull it off in strips instead of the whole bat is because this way is much easier to spin, and there is a directionality of, because the drum spins this way, if you have it going into the spinning wheel in that same direction, you get a better yarn. So then I take it from, I unwind it from the drum carder in the opposite way, wind it, wind it, wind it. Oop. Until I have yet another ball. So about 21 minutes each one of these takes me, and I only have, I think, 19 rounds left. So wish me luck. Okay, blessings on your day.